Hey Flosstube, this is Doris. I'm also known as Windy Bay Stitches on Instagram and Windy Bay on YouTube, and today I'm making my 5th Flosstube video. So thank you for stopping by and watching, and today I have a lot of finishes to share and just a tiny bit of haul and a little life update, actually kind of a big life update because interesting things are happening here. This is actually going to be my last video that I shoot from Northern Virginia. For those of you who have stopped by before, my backstory is that I've been in the process of moving from Virginia to Ohio for the last couple months, and we're finally nearing the end of that process. We got our house under contract in October, and we're actually going to be closing this coming Friday, and today is Sunday, November 25th, so it's coming up really quickly now. We have movers coming on Wednesday, and they'll take all of the rest of our stuff. A lot of our personal items were already shipped to Ohio, but today I'm in my craft room and it's still empty-ish, but now we've got messy boxes and you know, all the last bits of stuff that I had here are getting packed up, and they'll be taken out on Wednesday. So we're excited. We're really looking forward to kind of getting settled more in Ohio and making our house there more of a home, and then also starting some traveling at the beginning of 2019. So for Flosstube, so it's been since Halloween that I made my last video, so it's been a whole month, and that was longer than I planned, but we got pretty busy with, once we were under contract, there's a whole series of things that happened with home inspection and appraisal and homeowner association, and we had to do some repairs, and so there's contractor interviewing and hiring and waiting for repairs and all those things, and so it's been quite a long process. We also took a couple trips recently. We've been visiting some of our favorite coastal places. We went to Annapolis, Maryland for the weekend for my husband to run a 10K, and we also spent a night there and did some little bit of sightseeing. And then this past weekend we went to Philadelphia for a relative's party, and then down to the Jersey Shore, which is where I'm originally from, and we had a couple great days there visiting family and actually getting out to the beach. We had really nice November weather there. It was sunny and pleasant, not windy, and warm enough to walk on the beach for a while and hang out by the bay a little bit. So I actually shot some video clips there, and since that's the kind of the background for the nickname I go by, Windy Bay, I'll probably attach those clips at the end just for fun if this doesn't get too long. So well, let's get into the regular stitching stuff. I didn't really show any whips or projects in recent projects in the last video, since I was just having fun doing more of a Halloween special, but today we'll catch up, and since it's been a whole month I have a good number of things to share. I actually have 3 fall FFOs. The first was a little pumpkin pillow that I actually made from a punch needle and primitive cross stitcher magazine, and I forgot to pull that out to show the pattern, but it was in the fall issue, and I modified it slightly to replace, I think it had a biblical verse, and I replaced it with just the word thankful, and I actually gifted that to my sister-in-law for hosting Thanksgiving, so she has it, but I have a photograph that I'll insert here. And then I have 2 other finishes, fully finished objects, and this one came out pretty cute. It is the Open Road Adobe Needleworks, the little truck, and I had shown this pattern when I was stitching it, and it got a lot of nice feedback on Instagram. I did a simple flat fold just on black fabric just to let the truck really pop, and I did show this before. These are little postcard patterns made by this company, Open Road Adobe Needleworks. So I'm very pleased with how that came out. And I have one other fall FFO, which everyone has seen before. It's the Hands-On Design Pumpkin Spice Farm. And I made it into just like a mounted flat finish. I didn't have I think some people have had this in kit form with the nice velvety back fabric and the trim. I didn't have that, so I did it as just flat finish. I used comic board and 2 layers. I actually backed it on denim, which I do occasionally. I'm in the habit of, when we have an old pair of jeans that we're gonna be trashing, I actually just cut them up, and I keep the larger sections of fabric from the legs, and I use it for finishing. And it works really well sometimes on patriotic pieces or summer pieces, and I think it worked pretty well on this one too. And then I made cord from my orange Halloween trim. And I actually stitched the trim on this time to make sure it got a nice snug fit against the top piece, and then the rest is just glued together, and I backed it with more comic board. So that will just lean up somewhere. So that's it for my fully finished objects. I do have a number of stitching finishes too that I'll share. So one of my previous videos I shared that I had gotten to go on the Ohio Tour to Stitch, which was a shopping tour of 8 different shops in Northeast Ohio, and as part of the brochure that came with that, there was a little pattern to do a sort of little memory piece for the trip. And so it's away we go around Ohio, see a local needlework shop, time to stop. So I think that's pretty sweet. And this I just left unfinished. I'm going to try to put this into a scrapbook form, I think, so I could do some kind of a paper, just surround it with paper and put it on cardstock or something, so I can just drop it into a page protector and keep it in a scrapbook. And so there's that pattern, and then I also had picked up at I think it was like a rummage sale that I went to in Ohio, and I found this little kit it was made by Lottie Da, and the pattern is called Flag City, USA, and I didn't know for sure what Flag City was until I did the tour, and then as I mentioned when I did my tour video, Flag City is Findlay, Ohio, and this is what the little sampler looks like. So this was a commemorative piece from that city. The shop there is Craft Gallery, and this was 2005. So I stitched that up, and that was 1/1, or maybe 2/1. I'm not sure actually if I did 1 or 2, but it is over 1, so it's quite small, and I'm not sure what the count was. It was probably a 32 count, some type of a linen. And this first one was just on Ada, which you could probably tell. I did finish my larger project that I've been working on for a while. I've shown this a couple times before. This is the Provence sampler by Told in a Garden. So there's the pattern, and here is the finish. So yeah, I'm very pleased with how this came out. This was on I think a 32 count linen, and it was with Weeks Dye Works Cayenne, and it was nice to work with just one color. Made it very simple and kind of a good like meditative type stitching, which I enjoy sometimes, especially with moving is stressful. The whole process of purging and so many decisions and packing and planning and scheduling and waiting. Sometimes the waiting is the hardest part. I'm not the most patient person, so these last 5 months have really been a good test of that for me. So it's probably why I've done so much stitching, because it helps me be more patient than I naturally am. So one other small fall finish that I didn't make into an FFO yet was this Biscorno, and I did show this before. It was a free pattern by Janie Hubble Designs, and I did finish stitching the front and the back, but I didn't make it up yet because I decided I might want to put beads around the edges of it, and my beads are in Ohio, and I've been in Virginia for the last 6 weeks, so I'm gonna work on that when I do get moved in. Let's see. Oh, I had one more small finish, and this was another one of these little kits that was from years ago from an In Stitches, I think a lock-in, and this was a Christmas pattern. It looks like it was designed by a company called Earth Threads, and this is a portion of a little Christmas sampler. And I don't know if it's coming up on the camera, but there's a little bit of metallic mixed in with the gold and the word joy. The full pattern is actually, it goes on, this is about half of it, it goes on, and it has also peace and hope in it, and additional bands. But the actual stitch-in project, which came kitted, was only to do this half of it, and I like the way this came out. So that's it for my finishes. I do have 2 whips that I'm going to share today. One is a Thanksgiving piece that I've been working on, and it's the Thomas turkey from Not Forgotten Farm, and I've seen several people finish this recently. I've been sharing their finishes, and it's really a nice pattern. It's got unique colors and a nice vibe to it. So this is how far I've gotten, and this I'm actually stitching on. It's a piece of linen. You might notice it sort of looks strange. It's actually an old dinner napkin. When I was volunteering at a rummage sale in September, and I was actually helping at the linens table, and there were a set of 4 of these old linen napkins that had been donated, and nobody was buying them, and I ended up picking them up for like 50 cents or something, And I thought, I think you could actually stitch on these. It's like a fairly nice, soft linen, and it has a little bit of an aged look to it because it really is aged. So this is the first piece I'm trying out on one of those pieces of one of those napkins, and it's working pretty well. It is kind of slubby. You can see it actually where there's bumps, but I don't mind that. You have to count carefully around the bumps, but it gives it a little more of a interesting feel to it also. So I'm going to keep working on that. And the only other whip I thought I would share today is actually my much larger project that, I don't know if I ever mentioned that I've been working on this, but I know I have mentioned that I am in the Embroiderers Guild of America, which is EGA. And EGA publishes a magazine called Needle Arts, and it comes out quarterly. And they ran a 4-part series on this Bargello project, which is called Ambrosia Honey. And then EGA, well, my chapter, which is the Oatlands chapter here in Virginia, decided to do this project as a 4-part series for our group. But then meanwhile, the EGA national organization actually started running this as a SAL on Facebook. So people all over the US have been stitching this project. And this was an award-winning design by a member that then got featured in the magazine and now has just exploded with so many people stitching it. So I'm going to let you see this up close. So it's a canvas pattern, and it's featuring many different Bargello patterns kind of running into each other, and then it has the bee in the center. And it has, mostly it's stitched in pearl cotton. It also has a lot of beads filling in like the centers of a lot of these things, and then the bee itself is going to have a fair amount of beads on it. So I started this probably, I don't know, 9 months ago or so when our chapter started it, and I've made a lot of progress on it, but I haven't taken it out in a while because it just takes a different type of concentration. I've been distracted lately with all the moving stuff, but I will pick this up again once I get settled. So this is how far I am. I've got just one more pattern to put up here, and then I need to finish and connect these 3 patterns. And then the bee, I have the stitching done, and there is some metallic thread in the wings. There's also going to be some beads on top of that, and then all these little open spaces in these little pinwheels and the fans, and those are also going to get beaded and up here in the lattice work. So there's still a fair amount of work to do on it. And this is definitely a stretch for me because I don't normally do canvas. I don't normally do things this large. I do find it kind of unwieldy to work on, but I love the bold impact and how quickly the colors fill in. So I probably will do some additional canvas work in the future. All right, so those are my 2 bigger whips. I do have a little bit of stash to share. I did a lot of shopping in October, which I had shared in my Tour to Stitch video, but recently, as I think I mentioned, we took a couple trips to visit family. We were at the Jersey Shore, and we were mostly in Stone Harbor, where my brother lives, but then we did go to Cape May for the day before we came back. We actually took the Cape May Lewis ferry to get back to Virginia. And there is a shop in Cape May. It's called Stitch by Stitch, and I did stop in there. I didn't buy a lot since I had already done so much shopping recently, but I picked up one of their linen, little linen piece grab bags. So this has some nice colors in it to do some more smalls on. There's like a peach, and I guess, well, this is more of an orange, I guess, and then a lighter peachy color, and kind of a dark greenish gray color. So those will be good for some smalls. And then I did pick up two more Prairie Schooler Santas. I have the 2006 with a sewing theme and 2007 with a knitting theme. So we look forward to stitching one of these. I've been collecting these. I have probably about 10 of them now. I've never actually stitched one, so I'll probably do at least one of these in December. And oh, my other stash is kind of unusual and kind of interesting. So I am in the Stitch Mania group on Facebook. I don't typically post there a lot. I don't spend a whole lot of time on Facebook, but somebody shared a posting about an estate sale that they heard about in Falls Church, Virginia, which is pretty close to me. It's about a half-hour away. So I was able to go there and check out that estate sale. And it was in the home of a lady who apparently had been, I'm assuming, a lifelong stitcher. She was a guild member, I think maybe with ANG, and she had a lot of unfinished projects that were being sold and a lot of supplies and, mostly canvas, and she had some fabrics, and But she also had an amazing collection of vintage stitching items. She had beautiful chatelaines and scissors and some other collectible things, needle cases and so forth. And so I got there on the second day. There was one beautiful historical sampler that had already sold. But when I got there, there was still a fair amount of things to choose from. So I purchased 4 items, and I'm going to share those today. This first one is a little, novelty pincushion that's a rocking chair. It has, as you saw go flying, it has a little drawer that opens up, and it has the spindles to put 6 spools of threads on, and it has the little pin cushion, seat cushion. So I think this is very sweet. It's just plastic. And I also chose this little sewing kit. I think these used to be quite common. This one is metal. It has a thimble on the top that comes off. It has a little spindle that comes out that holds 2 thread spools, tiny, and it has a measuring tape in the bottom, which I'm not going to pull out too far because it may not retract, but I love the color of this and the design of it, and this is the first older piece like this that I've been able to purchase. I also got this pin cushion. Possibly she made it. It actually has a little scrap of fabric that I think has her name on it, Mildred Gordon. I did try to research her. Usually if I go on a estate sale and it's someone who has an interesting collection, I'll try to at least look them up, and sometimes you can find at least an obituary and learn a little bit about the person's life. I actually couldn't find anything for her, but she lived in an old historic house in one of the older parts of Falls Church. And anyway, so this pincushion was another thing I bought that was one of my favorites. It's got a wooden base. It's very heavy. It's got, I don't know if it's like sawdust or some kind of a heavier filler inside. It has a lot of needles stuck in it. And it actually had the little scrap with her name, and it's got a button at the top, and it has wool applique design on it as well. And I love the colors of it, and the pretty fabric on the bottom too, and a little bit of lace trim. So maybe she made this, or maybe someone gave it to her. So we have that, and then the last thing was my favorite piece. It's a beautiful thread holder. It has some heft to it. It's metal. It's got this embroidery on it. I think you would probably call this petty point because it's such a tiny count that it's stitched on, and it pulls open, and inside it stores thread. So it has, I think, 2 in there right now, and they're little wooden spools. So I just love the embroidery in this and the colors. All right, so that's some unusual haul, and I wasn't planning to be spending more money since I did the tour in October, but when you have a chance to buy unique historical pieces like this, it's a good investment, and I really love these objects. I think they're beautiful. I use them to decorate either my bedroom or my craft room, so I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of enjoyment from those. So that's it as far as my updates. If you're a subscriber, thank you. Thanks for coming back, and if you're new and you're visiting for the first time, I hope you'll maybe take a look at some of my earlier videos and consider subscribing. And I think, as I said, this is my last recording in Virginia. Next time I'll come from Ohio. Later today we're going to go to one of our a local craft brewery that we like. I'm going to show off my shirt. I have my Virginia Craft Beer Drink Loco shirt on. It has a bunch of breweries listed. Oh, actually mine doesn't have them on the back. My husband has a Drink Loco shirt, and his has a bunch of breweries, the local breweries on the back. But funny thing is the breweries are opening so quickly here that the shirt can't keep up, and neither can we. So there's some that we haven't even gotten to, and it's been hard to find a favorite because they're always trying out the new ones. But today we're going to go to one called Dynasty Brewing that's close by, and we invited local friends and family to come out and have a very informal farewell. So we're looking forward to that today. And as I mentioned, I think I'm going to add a couple clips of footage that I took from New Jersey at the end of this, and otherwise that's it, and I will be back probably in 2 or 3 weeks from Ohio. So I hope everyone's having a great day, and happy stitching. Hey Flosstube, this is Windy Bay Stitches on Instagram, and I'm in New Jersey today on the Jersey Shore. This is kind of my natural element, where my name comes from. We're actually on the beach right now. We're enjoying the sunshine, the waves, and we're seeing some of the birds flying low across the ocean. is the bay where Windy Bay officially began. We're at the Bay Park, we call it. It's right down the street from what was my parents' house, and it's a marina with a public boat ramp and then boat slips that you can rent. And we're here in November. It's very still today, so it doesn't really support the Windy Bay name, but it definitely gets very windy here. We have a little seagull friend hanging out. There he goes. Let's walk out on the public pier. People can come here to fish or go crabbing. That's my husband out there, enjoying this nice day. So the house I grew up in is about just down the block, about 5 or 6 houses, but the house is actually gone. It was torn down and rebuilt. There's been a lot of investment in expensive real estate on this island. And there's the bay and the marshes. It's really beautiful here. It's a beautiful area to paddle, kayaks, and some people have the small sailboats they take out in the summer. And those marshes are full of channels that you can paddle through, and you can see some beautiful birds.